completely taken aback by this. What a move.
It's an insane coup, an absolutely bonkers addition.
I'm absolutely amazed that they've managed to pull this move off. Hello, and welcome to the Second Tier Podcast. I'm Ryan Tilks, and I'm joined by the Jordan Henderson to my Darius Henderson. It's Justin Peach.
Good day to you, Ryan.
They always called him Darius, didn't they? It was never just Darius. How are you, Justin? It's been a short while.
It has. It feels like I've not been around for a bit. You know, you guest starred Gary Rowett at the weekend. It's all good, all fun and games. Hopefully he's not going to take my job because obviously he's still waiting for his own. But well, yeah, it's been good. I've missed you, Ryan. I've missed you. How are you? I'll ask you how you are.
You've missed me. You have missed me. Oh, come on. No. Those were your sincere feelings coming out for a second. Then you decided to turn back on knobhead Justin. So, how? Because you've missed me for all this time, how good does it feel to be back here chatting to me again?
It feels good to be talking about football. It feels good to be talking about the Championship, and it feels good. It feels. I don't want to say it. I'm struggling to get my words out.
No, yeah, because you've already slipped up once, haven't you?
Let
out your true feelings. Welcome to the #1 Championship podcast, the Second Tier. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. Yes, we're going to have a news roundup of everything that's cracking off in the Championship since the last time we spoke. Justin, of course, been quite a bit that's happened, actually. We've had 3 new managers appointed and a load of transfer business. Of course, it's the January transfer window and clubs have not messed around with getting their wallets out. So we'll talk about all of that in this show. Now, you might be thinking, dear listener, lads, it's midweek. Why aren't you doing predictions for the weekend? Well, that's because we're now doing our preview episodes on Fridays. Yes, that's right. For the remainder of the season, you'll be getting 3 episodes from us on the Second Tier. The usual Sunday show, a midweek episode on Thursdays, and now a preview show sponsored by our new friends at SBK every Friday, where we look ahead to the weekend, discuss the big games and make our predictions. Exciting stuff here on the Second Tier. So that's our new preview show every Friday, sponsored by SBK. So make sure you join us then for our weekend predictions. I'm excited, Justin. I can tell by your face, you're very excited.
Don't put that on me. Do not ever put that on me. You know I cannot portray excitement. I am excited. Not only have I just been speaking about missing you, I'm going to be seeing you for an extra day per week. So that's gonna run dry very quickly. But I'm excited to really hammer this preview show, because previews are good fun, and obviously we've got the predictions, and there's a lot of jeopardy on it this season, and that's where the intense nature of the episode is going to come in.
Not as much jeopardy on my behalf, since I'm absolutely miles ahead of you in the predictions so far. But, you know, there's still something for us to tune into and watch Justin's misery get more and more compounded as the weeks go on. So, yes, the Friday episode, definitely not one to miss, ladies and gentlemen. But let's talk Championship news, Justin. As I say, 3 new managers for us to discuss here in the Championship, and we'll start off with a big one, and it's Birmingham City. They have named Tony Mowbray as their new boss after sacking Wayne Rooney. He signed a 2.5-year deal. What do you think about this, Justin? It's always good to see old Mobes back in the game, isn't it?
Old Mobes, yeah, I really do rate Tony Mowbray. I don't think I've said too many bad things about him over the last couple of years, which almost gives you an indication of how good and efficient a manager he is at this level. He's a really good operator, and he's a really good personality as well. I think for a club like Birmingham City, who were embarking on what should be a solid new chapter with the new ownership in the summer, it's been a bit bumpy, obviously, with the poor decision making at the top. But I think Tony Mowbray is the kind of guy who's just going to come in, get on with the football side of things, give him certain players that you need to. And we'll see where it goes. And most of the time, or more often than not, Tony Mowbray leaves a club in a much better place. So this is a really exciting appointment for me. There's a lot to dissect from it, but initial excitement is very, very high for Tony Mowbray. Yeah,
I'm always happy to see Tony Mowbray in a job, because I think he's just a top bloke. I think he's one of those who is, one of the nicest blokes in football, just from what we see other people say, but also when you see him talking to the press, he's just a top chap, isn't he? But I mean, when I saw this appointment happen, I was thinking, this is a surprisingly sensible appointment. And the reason I say surprisingly is because of how the previous appointment went. And for me, when I saw Rooney get sacked, I was sure they were going to go and get another big name Tony Mowbray's not a small name, I suppose, but I'm talking like someone like Frank Lampard, for example. However, Mowbray for me is exactly what Birmingham need. Because, as you say, Justin, his record of taking clubs from a team in the bottom half to leaving them in or around the playoffs is tremendous. He's done it with Sunderland and Blackburn now in recent times, and that is exactly what Birmingham need at this stage, isn't it? He's got a great record of developing young players, which Birmingham have a lot of, plays attractive football. Seems like the perfect man for the job, doesn't he?
He is. He's not going to sell anything abroad, though, is he? I think that's the interesting thing about this appointment is he's not a name who's going to be big over in the US. He's going to get you results in the Championship, and he's going to get you into playoff contention at some point during his contract, if you like. But I think his ability to turn average players that are just coming out of the academy and being bled into the first team, his ability to turn them into big assets for football clubs should be a really attractive proposition for Birmingham. I think the only thing that I worry about is the hierarchy making a decision in the summer, once they're safe, once they're happy, once they want to go again, that they remove Tony Mowbray and go for a big name once again, because they've done it before.
But
and there's that lack of trust.
2.5-year contract though, Justin. Surely that means that they're going to stick with him until his time comes to an end.
They gave Rooney a 3.5-year contract and they sacked him after 8 weeks, 9 weeks.
Justin, that was a dumpster fire.
It was a dumpster fire, you're absolutely right. But what I'm saying is it's just that lack of trust that's now been developed in that decision-making at the football club, especially with a certain Mr. Cook in charge. It does leave you a little bit wary of what they do next. But for the time being, I think Tony Mowbray's the man to guide them into mid-table obscurity this season, which I think is a good thing for them. I think it's a very good thing for them. And he's going to develop players at the same time. So not only is he going to deliver on the football side of things, but he's also going to create assets within the squad.
Yeah, and I cannot agree more with everything you've just said, Justin. I think one thing I will pull you up on is what you were saying initially about how he's not going to make news headlines in America, I suppose, which does beg the question: what is the grand plan for these Birmingham owners? Because when the Rooney appointment happened, I was looking at that and people were speculating, are they looking for some sort of documentary thing going on? So whether that's the case, I don't really know anymore, because the whole point of them sacking John Eustace and getting in Wayne Rooney was because they wanted a bigger name, so it's all about PR basically, isn't it?
Exactly.
So whether they've kind of just given up on that and just want the club to actually be successful on the pitch, I don't know. But only time will tell, I suppose, won't it? I wonder what Tom Brady thought of this particular appointment. Let's go to Swansea. They've appointed Notts County boss Luke Williams as their new head coach on a 3.5-year contract. It's after the sacking of Michael Duff at the start of November. It's taken a bit of a while to find Swansea's new head coach, but they finally got round to doing it, and I think it's an interesting one, Justin.
I do. I kind of like it. Kind of a little bit sceptical on it. I think the reason why I like it is because obviously his brand of football. It's really exciting. It's really productive. It's possession based. It scores goals. It creates chances. It will get fans on the edge of their seats. I think I'm right in saying he deployed a 3-5-2 quite often, or a 3 at the back quite often, which might suit the Swansea side a little bit better. But at the same time, he's not got experience at Championship level as a manager, so that gives you a little bit of scepticism around the appointment. He wasn't first choice. Chris Davis was first choice before he opted to stay at Tottenham Hotspur under Ange Postecoglou. So again, there's that. And there are some defensive issues that have been cited by previous sort of writers in around football that needed to be worked on Notts County. So again, makes me a little bit wary. But I think Swansea needed a manager who's going to come in. He's young, he's exciting, he fits that brand, and he plays a possession-based football, which again is really good. And also, I don't know if anyone's seen a clip of him explaining short corners, but there's a clip of him explaining short corners, which is absolutely spot on. Let's have more short corners, please.
Yeah, that came after a load of controversy, didn't it, about people saying, what's the point in short corners? When actually Luke Williams explains really well what they actually do. For me, Michael Duff didn't feel like a Swansea City manager. Luke Williams does, and that is mainly because he is hot on possession football. Notts County have the highest average possession in League Two with 65%. The next highest is 57%. So that gives you an idea of how hot he is on maintaining possession. He's been at the club before, Swansea this is, and gets it. He also has family in the area, as far as I understand. So that's all good. He's done a cracking job at Notts. When you've come up against a Hollywood juggernaut in Wrexham in the National League and essentially match them with a lesser budget, still quite a big budget by National League standards, but a lesser budget, that's incredibly impressive. I think there has got to be reservations, though. It's a huge jump from League Two to the Championship, no matter what level your club is at. Notts were being tipped for promotion from League Two at the start of the season. They haven't lived up to those expectations. A large part of that is down to their awful defensive record. Only 4 teams in League Two have conceded more goals than Notts County this season. So it is a bit of a risk in that respect. But Swansea can take a risk because they're not going to go down this season. I'm very confident in saying that. And given time, this could be a smart appointment. If it doesn't, then they can just change tacks in the near future. So I'm fine with this appointment.
You are fine with managers just being sacked. It's the same thing about Joe Edwards. If it doesn't work out, they can just change him. You HR nightmare, walking HR nightmare. You are.
Am I wrong, Justin? Because
no, they can, but it does become expensive for clubs, and also finding and unearthing a new manager does then become quite tricky in the future. So, whilst they can, it's within their right to. It's an expensive process, which does add up on the club charts. But I do agree with you. I do agree with you. If it doesn't work out, they can change. I don't think Swansea will go down. I agree with you on that. But it's about building solid foundations. I think Alan Sheehan, handsome Alan Sheehan, has done a really good job in sort of guiding the club. Quite a bumpy. I guess not process, but journey they've taken from Michael Duff into Luke Williams. I think Alan Sheehan's done a pretty decent job with what he's needed to deal with, and got them in a good position for Luke Williams. So yeah, I'm intrigued by this one. Not as excited as Tony Mowbray, but I am intrigued by it. I want to put in a magnifying glass and see how it goes.
Yeah, I think the big thing to take away is he's a Swansea City kind of manager, isn't he?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
He falls into the same category of your Russell Martins, Graham Potters, etc. So that's good. And as long as I think Swansea fans will be much more content with the club in the long term if they have someone who plays, and I'm using air quotes here, the Swansea way. So that's always a good start. Whether he's a success in terms of results, I think only time will tell. He's got to sort out that defensive record because that's been an absolute nightmare for Notts County this season. So we'll wait and see on that front. And the final new manager in the Championship from the past week and a bit is at Plymouth. They've made former England under-20 manager Ian Foster their new head coach. He's most recently been Steven Gerrard's assistant at El Ettifaq in Saudi Arabia. I honestly don't know how this one's going to go. Justin, are you the same?
Yeah, pretty much. I think if you sort of blindly look at it, the two previous assistant coaches who have assisted Steven Gerrard, Mick Beale and Neil Critchley haven't exactly had a great time in the last year in the Championship. Obviously, Mick Beale's ominous exit from QPR, Neil Critchley being an absolute disaster at QPR last season. So Ian Foster's coming in with that hangover, I guess, but it's completely irrelevant. He's got coaching pedigree, which is good. Obviously, being England under-20s coach is quite a big deal. They were world champions not too long ago with Paul Simpson in charge, so that's a good thing. I think going to Saudi Arabia is interesting. He was linked with the Charlton job last season, this time last year. Sorry. So that never came about. So why didn't it come about? Was he not ready? Did Charlton not want to go for him? Were they not convinced by him? So again, that leads to some doubt. They've also got a lot of things to deal with. They lost 2 big players this January, so he's got to deal with that. So I don't know about this one.
Well, if you allow me to get on my high horse again, I'm always a big advocate for young, talented coaches to be given the chance to be a manager.
47.
That was my point, Justin, before you interrupted me so rudely. The main difference is he's not that young, which you saying he's 47, Justin. He's the 9th oldest manager in the division, but has next to no managerial experience at this level. So that's a bit strange, isn't it? And I suppose a sceptic might ask, if he's such a good manager or coach, then why is it taking this long for someone to appoint him? Ultimately, though, I have got a lot of faith in the Plymouth board. They're a brilliantly well-run club, so I believe they know what they're doing. If reports are to be believed, it was between Foster, John Eustace or Paul Cook for the job. They could have gone with a more experienced option, but clearly believe this is the right guy to lead them. The other thing is, and I'll add this, that Plymouth are in a similar boat to Swansea, where I think they can afford to take a gamble, because I'll be amazed if they were actually in serious danger of going down. People may look at the budget at Plymouth and think, well, they could very easily get dragged into it, and especially after the January that they've had so far. However, I struggle to foresee a situation where they finish below 2 of the current bottom 4. I'll say that much. Admittedly, though, as we were just alluding to, the job has been made harder with the departures of Finazaz and Luke Kundal, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing for me, and that's why I'm not putting my blind faith in good decision making at board level, because good boards can make bad decisions sometimes. It can happen. It's how it goes at times, and I don't think Plymouth are guaranteed to stave off a relegation battle. I do think this is the sort of thing that can pull you in. Obviously, whether or not
hang on, Justin. Let me stop you there. Do you, with this team that has the likes of Morgan Whittaker, who's been in unbelievable form this season, and a few other players who've been in really good form, do you really see them finishing below 2 of Huddersfield, Wednesday, QPR, and Rotherham?
I think the thing is, there's a lot of uncertainty from my perspective. Definitely not Rotherham. Let's just move Rotherham out of the conversation. Rotherham are not relevant at the moment. I think there's a lot of uncertainty with Sheffield Wednesday and Danny Rule. He's got them playing and booming, and they're going to add to their squad this January. Huddersfield are adding to their squad under Darren Moore. They've been pretty good at chipping away at results with probably one of the worst squads, bottom 3, or the worst squad in the Championship. QPR again, maybe not. So at least one place up for grabs. I'm not ruling out a relegation battle just because the Plymouth board are good at making decisions. They've gone through a pretty, I wouldn't say traumatic few weeks, but they've lost 3 big players at their club. Stephen Schumacher, the manager, Finazaz, their chief creator, and Luke Kundal, who's a very good, tidy technical midfielder who fits into that attacking philosophy perfectly. I imagine they will strengthen in January as well. No, I imagine
their recruitment's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing, but you can't put blind faith into it. They've gone through a pretty big, significant change.
I'm happy to put blind faith in Plymouth's recruitment.
Yeah, I think my point is they concede a lot of goals. They can add to their attack. If Ian Foster doesn't get the defence sorted, and the attack isn't quite clicking the way it has done in the first half of the season, because they've lost 2 players and a manager who play a big part in that, there's going to be problems. So Ian Foster's got a bigger job than probably what we make out it to be. It's a significant thing that he's got to go in and do, and has he got the experience to do it? I don't know. So I'm just a little bit more. I'm standing off this one. I'm not as convinced as you are.
Well, that's fair. You're more than welcome to, be sceptical about it, Justin. As I say, I don't know if this is going to work out or not. But going back to what I said after Stephen Schumacher left for Stoke, I think this is a great opportunity for any manager, just because
I agree.
You will be given time at Plymouth. The club's hierarchy is very smart. The recruitment's spot on. It's a really good position for Ian Foster to be in. And if it doesn't work, then he's shot himself in the foot, really, because he'll be the one to blame, because it's certainly not down to the recruitment or anything like that. Of course, the budget does play a factor here, but, Plymouth are just so well run that it's a great foundation that's been set there for them to really kick on. Is Ian Foster the man to lead them into the future? Only time will tell. Justin, let's take a quick break. After that, we'll talk about some of the latest transfer deals in the Championship. Welcome back to the Second Tier podcast. This is a news roundup of everything that's happened in the Championship since Justin and I last spoke, and there's been plenty of transfer deals. So let's talk about some of the confirmed deals that have taken place. And we'll kick off with this one. Fabio Carvalho has joined Hull on loan. Yes, you didn't just mishear me. Fabio Carvalho has joined Hull on loan. Justin, I saw reports that Hull were interested, and I was like, surely not. Surely he's destined for one of the 3 relegated clubs, and even then that would be a bit of a coup for them. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, he's bloody signed. I'm completely taken aback by this. What a move.
It's an insane coup, isn't it? It's an insane coup. The amount of enthusiasm I have for this young man is just ridiculous. And I know I don't portray it, I can't, but the enthusiasm I have is it's building in me. I can't wait to see him in this Liam Rosenior team. And I know I said something similar to around Malcolm Ebioe last season when he joined Hull, and it didn't quite work out. But this one is really, really top class, and the fact that they've beaten other clubs who are probably in a better position to push for promotion, like Southampton, like Leicester. It's just it's just the pull of Liam Rosenior again. I think that's the only thing I can put it down to. But what he brings to a team is just ridiculous. In the 21-22 season, he got 18 goal contributions. He was 20 years old doing that. He averaged 2 chances per game as well, creative-wise, and I think that's really good when you're just coming into the team as a teenager. I think it's an absolutely bonkers addition, and I think it changes Hull from a contender to a serious conversation starter within the playoffs.
I think they were already in that conversation anyway, Justin, if we're being honest. But I'm absolutely amazed that they've managed to pull this move off, because we are talking about a player who was one of the best in the division a couple of seasons ago at the age of 19. He was a key part in the highest scoring team we've ever seen at championship level, this being Fulham from a couple of years ago. He was someone who looked like he was on his way to superstardom. And sure, it's not gone amazingly for him since, but we are talking about a player who was deemed so good that RB Leipzig wanted him on loan last summer. The RB Leipzig who finished third in the Bundesliga last season. It's just mad. And when I saw Leicester getting linked with him, like at the start of the transfer window, I thought, God, that's mad. He'll be way too good there. So for him to move to Hull, and I mean this with no disrespect, Hull are just a team challenging for the top 6. It's genuinely astonishing, because they are just a playoff chasing team. I'm actually staggered by this whole situation.
Yeah, I think, again, Liam Rosenior will play a big part of it, but also the role that Fabio Carvalho will play at Hull. He's going to be the main man, and I think that's going to be a big thing for him. It's probably a big motivate for him as well, because at Southampton and Leicester, you'd argue that he's more likely to be not a squad option, but he's not going to be the main man in those sides. He's probably not even going to play in his favoured position either. He's probably going to play off the left in both of those sides, because they don't play with a traditional number 10. Not that Carvalho is a traditional number 10. I think he suits a number of different roles within a sort of attacking team, but I think he's more likely to get that responsibility at Hull, and I think that's going to be a big thing for him and his development. And Liam Rosenior plays an intricate style of play. So does Maresco and Russell Martin, but I think tactically Rosenior's very, very talented. So I think it's a move that suits everybody, and this is, from a Hull perspective, this is a really exciting one for them and their supporters.
Yeah, and you're spot on about Rosenior, what you were saying just a bit earlier, Justin. I think it says a lot about him as a coach and how he's regarded by other clubs, because they've probably looked at the likes of Liam Delap, Scott Twine, etc., and thought, well, look at how well he's got them playing this season. He could be the perfect man for this stage of Fabio Carvalho's development. That goes a long way with Premier League clubs, doesn't it, when it comes to loaning out players to Championship sides. If they've got a proven track record of taking players in, making them better by the time they leave, clubs will look at that and go, yeah, let's send them there ahead of any other Championship club. I think it also says a lot about the ambition of Hull, because we said literally last week in our look ahead for the January transfer window that it's exciting to see what Hull will do. Yeah, I never thought it would be this exciting. It really is thrilling, and if there's more to come of this kind of calibre, then my oh my, Hull mean business this season, don't they? Let's talk about another transfer which I'm a big fan of, Justin, and that's Finn Azaz joining Middlesbrough in a permanent deal, reported to be worth around £2 million from Aston Villa. He had been tearing it up on loan at Plymouth, so much so that we gave him a load of praise on the Sunday before this move happened, didn't we? So therefore, that's evidence that the Middlesbrough hierarchy clearly listened to us, Justin. But a very smart move, this, isn't it? I think we'll both agree with that. Yeah,
very shrewd. It's really intelligent as well, because we've seen Middlesbrough throw money in previous transfer windows. I mean, look at the was it, how much did they spend on Jordan Rhodes? Was it £12 million?
That's a long time ago. Just now.
I know it is.
Compare that.
No, I know, but what I'm getting at is teams can
also,
make mistakes.
If you're going to compare transfers from that kind of time, then surely it's Martin Braithwaite, isn't it?
Well, yeah, that's just what I mean. Like, teams can make mistakes in transfer windows. I'm more alluding to a January transfer window. It's very rare that you get a very shrewd, smart addition in transfer in the winter. It's more so loans and propping up your squads. But this one is so smart because he's had such a good season at Plymouth, and he's taken to the Championship very, very kindly, very, very well. He's been one of the best creators in the division, as we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, and he's really grabbed his opportunity for Plymouth. I'm chuffed for him. I'm disappointed for Plymouth because, you know, Plymouth are a very likeable side, and Azaz has fitted into that perfectly. But him and Michael Carrick, I can't wait to see how it cooks. I can't wait to see how it comes together because he's such a talented creator, and he's got to add a little bit more into that final third. And he scores goals out of, you know, he scores worldies. The goal he scored against Watford, for example, was just ridiculous. The technique on it was mad. But yeah, that's you know, three of Isaiah Jones, Finn Azaz, and, you know, one of maybe Riley McGree or Morgan Rogers. And yeah, they've got a lot of talent now in that final third, and Azaz just adds a bit of the cherry on top of the ice cream. Yeah, well,
Azaz has been incredible this season. So £2 million for a 23-year-old who's been one of the best players in his position in the division. It's just undoubtedly a great bit of business. Michael Carrick likes to play with a number 10 behind the striker, doesn't he? They've not really found someone who can fill the gap left by Chuba Akpom. I mean, Matt Crooks has been okay, but nothing exceptional. Finn Azaz slots in there perfectly, and he knows where the back of the net is. We saw that in spectacular fashion against Watford. A brilliant chance creator, loves to run with the ball. He's exactly what Middlesbrough have been missing, essentially, isn't he?
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? They do lack a little bit of, you know, a diminutive player in that final third. The Akpom leaving, so there's that inability. There's not a player there who can ghost into space and find goal scoring positions this season. Ryan McGree, I know I mentioned him already, but he hasn't been in his as good a form as he was last season. Ryan Giles as well, so they're missing that wide supply as well. Whereas Azaz comes in and he's got the ability to knit it all together, and he might be the final piece of the puzzle for Michael Carrick. And I think we're starting to see a team come together that is probably more resembling his identity and what he wants to put out than maybe what he was working with last season.
You just say Ryan Giles?
Well, yeah, I was alluding to the creative problem, the creative aspect from last season. A lot of assists, a lot of creativity.
I was going to say, you are aware that Ryan Giles doesn't play for Middlesbrough anymore.
What?
Let's go on to this one, Justin. Ipswich have loaned in Blackburn captain Lewis Travis for the rest of the season. Not a move I expected at all. I don't know about you.
It's incredibly random how it came about, but actually, once you hear the context of it, it does make sense, because obviously Jon Dahl Thompson alluded to Lewis Travis asking to leave in the summer, not quite happening. So fair play to him, Lewis Travis that is, and Thompson, for just getting on with it and not sort of spitting the dummy out, because that can happen. But yeah, really, really random. You always question whether Ipswich need him, because they've got Massimo Luongo, Sam Morsey, and Jack Taylor as well. I know Lee Evans has got his injury problems, but he's another central midfielder at the club. And Lewis Travis is probably more so like Luongo and Morsey, probably more so like Morsey in that sense. But yeah, it's incredibly random, but they get a leader. So I think it's a shrewd addition. Just how much game time he gets, I don't know.
Yeah, it is a strange one, isn't it? Because, I mean, look, at one point, he was one of the most promising young midfielders outside of the Premier League, and his career has stalled a bit since then, but he is only 26. The main thing to remember here is Kieran McKenna is excellent at getting players to play at their best. Mm-hmm. And if he can get Lewis Travis back on track to fulfilling his earlier potential, then this could be a brilliant move. Alternatively, he might just be there to add a bit of depth, because neither Sam Morsey or Massimo Luongo have really put a foot wrong this season, have they? No. That's why Jack Taylor's barely had a chance in the Championship. So it is a bit of a strange move, but I can see the logic behind it. How much game time he actually gets, I don't know. But as you say, he is Blackburn's captain, so I guess he adds a bit of leadership behind the scenes as well.
Do you think he might be a long-term option for Sam Morsey should the move get made permanent?
Well, I don't know I don't know whether there's an option to make it permanent or not, whether they actually do that or no. I suppose depends on whether they're in the Premier League or the Championship next season, doesn't it? If they're in the Championship, they may be more inclined to do it. If they're in the Premier League, they'll probably be looking at someone who's better, to put it bluntly. Wow. So I don't know. I don't know. That's why I found this whole thing a bit strange, especially because, I mean, put it this way, Justin, how often have we seen a player who's not really featured for a mid-table championship side this season, going on loan to a top 2 team. I can't recall anything like it before, so it's certainly strange in that respect, but you know what, let's wait and see. If he's just there for squad depth, then it doesn't really matter much, does it? Meanwhile, Ipswich have also confirmed the signing of Jeremy Sarmiento on loan from Brighton. Was on loan at West Brom, didn't really play that much, but you know, Ipswich have a bit more in the final third, so we'll wait and see on that front. Speaking of which, and talking about a bit more in the final third, Huddersfield made a bright start to the January transfer window. They have brought in young Chelsea winger Alex Matos, very highly rated player, has appeared on the bench multiple times in the Premier League this season. They've also signed Spanish striker Bojan Radulovic from Finnish side HJK Helsinki. 25 goals in 42 games last season for him, including in the Champions League qualifying stages. So, interesting, Justin. They need a striker, don't they?
They definitely need a striker. They need presence in that final third as well. And they've got a player who's 6'3" here. So, you know, he adds someone who's taller than Danny Ward and Bergzorg's quite tall, but he's more of a gangly. But that's beside the point. He's got a pedigree of scoring goals. I can't profess to know much about the Finnish leagues, but if he's played in Europe, he takes penalties. He's got this pedigree of scoring goals. He's 6'3", so he's physical. He came through the Brighton. Well, he didn't come through the Brighton Academy, but he was in the Brighton Academy at one point as well, which they've got a good eye for picking out young talent. And his career's only just got going at Helsinki. So yeah, this could be the catapult he needs. But Huddersfield, they've made the start they needed to this January, which is the main takeaway from these two signings.
Yeah, well, his goal record in Finland is impressive, and I'm sure Huddersfield have done their due diligence and haven't just signed him because he won the Golden Boot in Finland last season. They desperately need a striker, so it'll be interesting to see if he is the answer. The obvious concerns are, yes, he scored a lot of goals in the Finnish league, but it is the Finnish league, so the standard isn't great there. If you look at his goal record prior to the most recent season as well, it's not brilliant. So I don't know if he's going to be a success. So we'll have to wait and see. He's a big lad, so will suit how Huddersfield want to play. Will he score the goals that they desperately need? I don't think anyone can say for sure, so only time will tell. Meanwhile, Jordan Rhodes will remain at Blackpool for the remainder of the season. There were reports Huddersfield could recall him from his loan there, but that's not happening now, so a lot of pressure on Radulovic to be the hitman in front of goal, isn't he? Stoke have made a couple of loan signings. They brought in goalkeeper Daniel Evenson on loan from Leicester, while Luke Cundle, who we were mentioning earlier, was on loan at Plymouth earlier in the season, is now joined for the remainder of the season as well. Evenson's a good keeper, isn't he? Surprised he hasn't played regularly there, or anywhere for that matter. Cundle's done really well at Plymouth so far, so decent little move there from Stoke. Blackburn have loaned in at Brighton midfielder Yasin Ayari. The young Swede has been at Coventry but struggled to make an impact, hasn't he, this season, Justin?
Yeah, we were excited back in the summer, weren't we, when he initially joined Cov, but it just hasn't worked out. I think there's been a system change, obviously going from a 5 at the back to a 4 at the back and a 4-2-3-1, which means he's probably not got room. Mark Robbins probably hasn't got room for him. It's been a new squad that's been settling in, so it's probably been a lot of variables working against him. But Blackburn's a great place for an education. Tyler Mortar did well last season on loan. Adam Morton's broken through over the last couple of seasons. John Dale Thomason is probably the best coach to be playing under if you're a technical midfielder, and I think he'll get the best out of him.
Plymouth have signed Tottenham defender Ashley Phillips on loan until the end of the season, so it's not all bad for Ian Foster. It's not been a complete disaster in terms of the transfer window. He's a highly rated lad. They paid quite a lot of money to get him from Blackburn in the summer, didn't they? So it'll be interesting to see what he's all about and whether how good he is at this level in particular. Sheffield Wednesday have signed Brighton goalkeeper James Beadle on loan until the end of the season. He had been on loan at Oxford in League One, where he made 25 appearances. Wednesday have been very keen to get a new goalkeeper in, so Beadle's very highly rated. I think he's only 19, so quite young for a goalkeeper, but yeah, let's see what he's all about. And the final bit of transfer news, Justin, is Leeds United. They've terminated the loan spell of right-back Jed Spence. He's only started 5 league games this season, and speaking about the decision, Daniel Farker said, obviously, it's important, the potential and the quality of the player, but it's also its professionalism, its discipline, its workload on and off the pitch. So, sounds like it's an attitude issue, Justin, which has been a problem before in his career, I'm afraid to say, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a long time since he was pictured at Wembley with a cigar in his mouth in the changing rooms, isn't it? It's a weird one. It's a strange one, in fact. He's a good player with a lot of quality. We know this. He's one of the best or the best right wing back when Forest went up a couple of seasons ago. Sometimes moves just are right for you. They're right for a person. They're right for a player. And I don't think the Spurs move has been particularly great. And obviously this one to Leeds hasn't been ideal either. We've seen players go from the Championship to Spurs and not be a success. Jack Clark's a great example. He's recovered his career, and I think Jed Spence will do the same because he's got an abundance of quality. So it's hard to say. I don't want to point the finger towards him having attitude problems. Perhaps he's struggled to settle. Perhaps he's believed his own hype too much.
Daniel Farke has pretty much said he's got an attitude problem.
Yeah, but I don't want to point the finger at him. I'm being kind. I'm trying to give him an out. I think it's a case of he maybe believed his own hype too much. Obviously, the Forest loan and then the move to Spurs. Sometimes players need moments to bring them back down to earth, and this might be it for him. So, yeah, enormous quality. Clearly needs humbling, and this might be it.
Well, it's very disappointing, isn't it? This was a great opportunity for him to get his career back on track, and he's seemingly squandered it. I mean, cast your mind back a couple of seasons ago, Justin. We were foaming at the mouth at how good he was for Forest, and he genuinely was probably in their top 3 performers in their promotion season, wasn't he? So the fact his career has since then been 30 minutes played in total at Spurs, and then 2 failed loan spells at Rennes and Leeds, it's really quite sad. And he's going on loan to Genoa in Italy next, but it's hard to see that being a success after his last 2 loan spells didn't work. So it's just a real shame on my behalf, and I'd like to say hopefully he'll get his career back on track, but I'm not too hopeful at the moment.
Yeah, what I will say is you get a loan move to Leeds, you've got to really make it matter. You've got to make it count, because you can really leave a lasting impression on Leeds supporters. Leeds are a big football club, big football club, big supporters. And they're well backed, and they've got an opportunity to get promotion this season, and you've got to take that seriously. And obviously he hasn't, and that's the big opportunity wasted for Jed Spence, because obviously it was an opportunity to get his career back on track and also really make this loan count, and it's not been the case. And Italy's a nice place, there's pasta's great over there, but you're a long way from home.
Yeah, somewhere in Cornwall is a man sat next to a lake fishing, and he's pissing himself at the thought of Jed Spence not being the success that he thought he was after Jed Spence called him out on Twitter after the playoff final. But we'll leave that one there, ladies and gentlemen. This has been a news roundup of everything that's happened in the Championship from the past week and a bit, since Justin and I last spoke, basically. So we'll continue to monitor the transfer window as it is open, and we'll next be back tomorrow for our preview show, sponsored by SBK, where we'll be having a look ahead to the weekend, making some predictions and talking about the big games in the Championship. So we look forward to seeing you then. This has been the Second Tier Podcast. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for listening.